Sophia Media. Welcome to My First Year as a Mother, a podcast about life, motherhood, and that pivotal first year of becoming a mom. I'm Sophia.
And I'm Casey.
Today we're speaking with Jess Mooney, a speech-language pathologist from Wakefield, Rhode Island, and mother of 3-year-old Lola.
Jess has lived with anxiety and a fear of being judged for much of her life. Becoming a mom forced her to confront those fears in new ways and to think carefully about the kind of emotional home she wants to create for Lola. In her work, Jess helps elementary school children find their voices. But with her own daughter Lola, she's nurturing a different kind of voice: confidence.
I look at her and I see myself when I was little. I desperately do not want her to feel criticized by her mom. And so whenever I say I love you, I say no matter what at the end. And she now says it back. I really want her to know I love her no matter what.
So, Jess, you were talking about being sensitive and you've always been this way. And do you remember at what point when you were growing up, you became aware of that?
Yes, I do. I have some very distinct moments that I remember. I did move around a lot. So I think that probably played into some of it. I went to 4 different elementary schools. So making friends, having to be the new kid all the time. A couple of them were Catholic schools, which felt a little clickier, and just always trying to figure out who I was and where I fit in. And some kids were not kind. So I think that there was probably a period of time where things were just building, but I wasn't really feeling the full force of the impact of all of that, probably up until earlier high school. Things started to build a little bit. And then ultimately the feeling of disappointing my parents, any authority figure, getting in trouble, anything like that. If I wasn't doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing, measuring up, any feeling of possibly disappointing someone above me, quote unquote, any kind of superior was terrifying to me. So I think it felt like it was almost building my whole childhood. And it's sad to me because I look back on that when I was really little and I look at my daughter and where she's at now. And I want to do everything I can not to crush any part of her spirit. And I want her to stay just take up space as much as she can for as long as she can, because I just remember when I started to notice and care about, too much so, what other people thought, just what that did. I really hope that those moments don't happen to her or don't impact her, at least the way that they impacted me.
So how did the anxiety then feed into how you viewed romantic relationships and how you thought about your plans for creating your own family?
I think first and foremost, it was making sure I found someone who could accept me the way that I am. I remember I had a boyfriend who told me once my anxiety was a red flag, which was not so kind. And I remember being not just insulted, but angry, because at that point I realized that was not going to fly and was just inappropriate and certainly not going to be the kind of partner that I would want long term. Of course, I didn't do anything about it at the time, and I continued to date him for a while. But I think that was going to be a big piece for me, is being with someone who didn't make me feel like I was too much. Because a lot of my growing up, I felt like I was too much. Whether I was told outright or it was just my perception of how people were interacting with me, that was probably the biggest thing, was just feeling safe with somebody, which obviously then would hopefully lend itself to someone I'd want to have a family with.
Can you tell us about finding that person that you wanted to have a family with when you met your husband?
So it's kind of a funny story, I guess. We did go to high school together, but we weren't friends. We were in different grades. And We were both lifeguards, swimmers, and I think, overlapped lifeguarding at the Y. So I guess, what was it? It was during COVID, I think. That was around when I had somewhat recently moved back to Rhode Island from Boston. And we had gone on a girls' trip, just a day trip. And they were like, you have to post this picture. You have to, you have to. I was like, absolutely not. I'm not doing it. And they made me. And then later that night, I got a message from this guy I went to high school with asking me if I was back in Rhode Island and if I wanted to take his dog for a walk. And I was like, oh boy, that's a line. And I reached out to my sister and I was like, do you remember this guy? And she's like, oh yeah, I think so. And I was like, should I do it? And she was like, yeah. It was pretty quick. Everything happened relatively quickly. I think our first date was in September. And then I think I must have moved in with him the next year, 2021. We got engaged the next year and then married. And then a month and a half later, I was pregnant. One of my very good friends married us. And when we met with him to go over like what we wanted to use as our vows, he was asking us, I don't remember exactly what the wording was, but it was something along the lines of like, what pulls you in, what draws you to each other. And I said, his hands. There's this healing energy, this nurturing, soothing element to him where if he just puts his hand like on my back or on my shoulder, it's just this very calming energy, this presence that I have not had in a partner. And it instantly just makes me feel safe. And in terms of what I was looking for and what's important to me, that feeling of safety, that feeling of nurturing and comfort, that was just like a huge green flag.
I know that you had mentioned before that for a while, I guess before the two of you got together, you were at a point in your life you weren't even sure if you were going to ever meet the right person for you and have kids. And your sister's younger than you, right?
Yes.
But she had already started having kids. So what was that period like for you?
That was tough. That was very tough. I think that in terms of just trying to understand my identity, I'm the oldest. I do things first. She does things second. That's just how it is. She gets my hand-me-downs. Like, these are the roles that we have been assigned. And I remember while I was dating that previous boyfriend who was not so nice, she got engaged. And I remember having the worst feeling in the pit of my stomach. And I will forever resent that version of me in that moment. I hate how I felt. It was not supportive. It was selfish. It was caught up in my own stuff. It was this feeling of, if this is happening, then who am I? What am I doing? I couldn't just be happy for her in that moment. I immediately just got this pit in my stomach, and it went just this wave of anxiety and just sadness just washed over me. At that same moment, really realizing this person I had been dating, nothing was ever going to happen. So all of that kind of happened literally in the same 3 minutes. That just was what came up for me. And their relationship, I loved him. I loved them together. They had been together for a while. It was not about them at all. It was solely about my own stuff. I was so focused on the way things need to be. That's the part of me that's like, no, but this is how this goes. That's not how this goes. So what do I do with this? So I think there was a part of me when I did kind of get past that where I was like, okay, maybe I'm not ever going to have my own family. Maybe I'm the fun aunt. Maybe this is not in the cards for me, because also just my own age and worrying about fertility, and I have no idea what's what. I don't know if there will be any problem. I don't know what the true reality is in the future. So it was certainly upsetting at first, then a little scary. And then there was this kind of weird peace that came with it that I was like, so I don't have kids. Okay, that's maybe I'd never really wanted them. Maybe it was society. Maybe it was the way I was socialized. Maybe it's not a big deal. But either way, I have to find a way to be okay with whatever does actually happen.
And how old were you when you did finally meet your husband and get pregnant?
I was 36, I think, when I met him, and then 37 and more than almost a half by the time I had her. Yeah.
Do you remember when you first found out that you were pregnant? What
Oh,
that
yeah.
moment was like?
I honestly don't know why I took a test. I had no symptoms. I was not looking for it. I was bored. I was about to get in the shower and I was like, I'll just take one, like whatever. So I took one and the two lines came up and I was like, no, 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 no. I'll take a shower. I'll take another one. So I got in the shower and I'm just like, what the hell? And then I got out of the shower and I took another one. I think I maybe took 3 overall, but I took one of the digital ones too and it said it. And I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So I just remember the feeling of this is happening, but I don't remember anything else in that moment. I was just like, this is real. You're gonna do this now. You are going to experience this now. And then I feel like a lot of the rest of it almost felt like an out of body experience. It wasn't like I was dissociating or anything, but it just was like, this isn't happening to me. It was just a very strange, wonderful, but very strange experience. I think probably part of me felt relief that we weren't going to have trouble conceiving. So I think there was probably a little bit of that relief of like, oh, wow, okay, things are working the way I thought they were supposed to. So that's good. I guess that's one stressor. I guess I can kind of cross off my long list of stressors. So probably a little bit of that. But I think just disbelief in general that like, oh, I'm finally doing this thing that I just kind of had maybe decided was, maybe it won't happen.
Mm-hmm. Did any of your anxiety come back during pregnancy?
My anxiety went away completely when I was pregnant. It was wild. I have never felt that sense of peace and calm. There were a couple of big things that happened that were anxiety provoking, but overall, it was blissful. I slept better for the most part, other than some of the physical discomfort towards the end. Emotionally and mentally, all of that just felt really good. It was really interesting, just the feeling of not having anxiety for once in my life as I know it. And I remembered thinking like, oh, this is how the other half lives. This is so nice for them.
Jess, I'd love to jump ahead to your birth story if you'd like to get
Sure.
into it. I understand you had a plan, but
Yes.
as we know, babies are going to do what they want. So,
Yes.
can you walk us through your birth story?
So I had her August 1st. She was due August 8th. It was probably the springtime when my doctor was like, well, the baby is still not turned around. And I was like, oh, okay. She was like, but we still have some time. I was like, okay. And then time would pass and we'd check again. And she said, baby is still breech. And she said, so we can try this procedure where they attempt to manually turn the baby. I said, well, like, what's the success rate? And she basically said, it's not great, but it's worth a shot if you want the vaginal delivery. And I was like, all right, we'll give it a shot. And she said, if it doesn't work, then we will schedule a C-section. And I was like, wow, okay, another part of this that was not the plan. Never, I don't think at all, did I consider that I would possibly get a C-section. I was fully prepared for what it was going to feel like to push a baby out of me. In the meantime, my dad has like an inversion table thing for stretching your back out. I literally stood on my head. They put me in it. I did everything I could read about possibly naturally helping the baby flip around. No, none of it did anything. I went in for this procedure and it was awful. It was so painful. And the doctor who did it, he was great, but it was incredibly painful. And he tried for a while and from different angles. And there's no pain medication. You don't get any kind of pain medication for it.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So the most they'll give you is an Ativan, which I happily accepted, but it again doesn't do anything for the pain. And so after the fact, just laying on like the hospital bed, the gurney, and just the bruising that was all over my stomach it looked like I'd been like attacked. It was very uncomfortable. I remember squeezing my husband's hand and he was in pain from squeezing. It was not a good time. So then they scheduled the C-section for, I don't know what it was, maybe 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later. And that was just another part that was interesting because to know that I had an appointment to have a baby was weird. I feel like my brain needed to make peace with that and like going back and forth in my mind to try to get past the idea that I didn't experience the other version of birth and I may not because I may just only have my daughter. There was no real surprise coming or waiting, but I feel like I had this sense of peace through most of the day, which is not on brand for me. My husband was more nervous than I was, I think, for the most part.
I would love to have you describe the moment when you first met her. What was that like?
Again, it felt like an out of body experience because they held her over the curtain and I looked at her and I was like, that's the person that's been in my stomach this whole time? Like, I don't know. And then I think I felt this rush of what am I supposed to feel right now? What am I supposed to be feeling? Am I supposed to burst into tears? Am I supposed to think she's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen? What am I supposed to do? It was a kind of like mix of my natural emotions and feelings and then also this little, I don't know, voice of almost, am I doing this right? Am I feeling what I'm supposed to be feeling? Am I a bad mom already and we just met? Am I not feeling all the things that I'm supposed to be? Like, it was just a little complicated. I think I looked at her and I was just like, this is this little person who's been in my stomach. And also, who the hell are you going to be? I need to know. Who are you really? This new little person. Who are you? And I think I was at that point probably started to be a little in disbelief. Yeah, is this really happening to me? And just what is next? What's going to happen now? It was just a huge mix of a ton of different thoughts and feelings when she came out. So
It's so relatable, especially when you undergo such a invasive surgery. There's just so much going on at the same time. And then also feeling really conflicted because when your baby comes, maybe you should have this certain reaction because that's what's expected of you. Sometimes people don't feel anything, or some people are scared or happy or sad. And I think that's all okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I appreciate that validation because I think that's being a parent and probably even more so being a mom, just constantly questioning, am I doing this right? Is this okay? Am I going to be judged for this? Can I share this or should I keep it to myself? I think there is such a wide range of normal. There's just so much that we keep to ourselves because we're scared of being judged and perceived a certain way when there are thousands of other people feeling the exact same way. And I just think it's important to be able to talk about it without fear, which is just a general state that I've been battling my whole life with my anxiety. So I'm trying to be brave.
Yeah. And so well put to say a wide range of normal. I totally relate because it's like we have a lifetime now of mom guilt. When you brought Lola home, what was the biggest adjustment and how were you able to cope with your anxiety with this new baby?
Fortunately, my parents live not too far. So my mom was able to be very helpful and pretty hands-on, which was nice. My husband was as helpful as he could be, doing all the things that he needed to do. I think I was most worried about the scheduling piece because a newborn schedule is just so not any other like age group schedule. Trying to make sure that I was feeding her at the right time and making sure her diaper was changed as regularly as possible and getting very caught up in all of the apps with logging things. And some of that kind of reinforced some anxiety and maybe was not great. But then some of it I felt like I needed in order to feel like I could check something off a list or feel like, okay, I did that at the right time. And if the doctor asks me, because they inevitably will, what's going on with this? What happened here? I will have a log to be able to show them. The apps helped a little bit and also made some of my anxiety a little bit worse, especially around the feeding, because she didn't really want to eat a ton. She fed fine, but she just didn't eat a ton. And that brought a ton of anxiety, a new set of, wait a second, this is not supposed to go this way, and a new just set of things to worry about in terms of like how we would remediate this. And then more worries about how is her pediatrician viewing me? Is she thinking I'm a bad mom? Is she thinking I'm not doing the right things? So there was just a lot around the feeding that added to anxiety that maybe almost took away some anxiety over other things because I was so focused on that I think in general it was the feeding and then just germs, new germs around a baby, and me reading way too much about all sorts of things and just being nervous about her getting like horribly ill as a brand new baby, which was not the case. She's got a great immune system for the most part. So I think those were like the two things that I was just had almost like tunnel vision on initially when we got home. So that was hard.
How did you deal with those two major anxieties? Because feeding, as you know, is such a big deal in the beginning, breastfeeding or formula, and then making sure they're gaining enough weight.
One thing that I thought was a great support was having lactation come and a nurse at the hospital who initially said something about it. I don't know that it was really on my radar before I had Lola. And I think the hard part too was that it wasn't me, it was her. So it wasn't like I wasn't producing enough or like it wasn't anything I had control over, which is really hard for me. So she just either wouldn't latch or wouldn't do it for long enough and seemed fine with that. So she wasn't gaining a ton of weight. She was a happy baby. She wasn't starving all the time and screaming and, it was nothing like that. So it wasn't necessarily the product itself. It was like the activity. Mm-hmm. She was like not that interested. So I was like, okay, if it's her not latching, maybe I should just exclusively pump. But I was like, I don't think I want that life. I have a friend who did it and bless her heart. I don't know. I think I'm too selfish for that. It's so much time and energy and all of it. And even doing it in between breastfeeding is a ton. Like it just all of it. I was like, God, this is a lot of work. So that was another thing I had to accept and make peace with is that we are supplementing with formula, still breastfed her for 7 months. But once we were good on solids, I had to grieve letting go of it. I reduced like the frequency. But I had a very hard time with the last time being the last time because it was another piece of like my identity wrapped up in all of this whole experience that I was like, I don't want to stop yet. I don't, even though it's not doing anything for her. I mean, it's bonding, I know, but it's not like functionally, it's not providing her much at this point. And she doesn't seem like she'll care. And she didn't. So it still was sad. We ended up getting a scale again. Added to my anxiety, probably not great, but I was like, I need to know. One visit, I think Lola had maybe lost a couple ounces or maybe like a pound or something. And the pediatrician's reaction was like, what happened? And I felt like I was, again, getting in trouble by authority, disappointing authority. That was like a huge wound reopened in that moment. I was just like in pieces in the office. I don't know, like when I tell you I am doing everything I can, it made me very sad. And again, made me like question, am I a bad mom? Am I not doing enough? Like what else can I possibly do? So we got through it. Long story short, we got through it. I mean, it was months. It wasn't years. And the second she got a hold of solids, she was off to the races. She's still going to be kind of a string bean. She's not like skinny, but she's slim and that's just who she is. But Girl loves guacamole. She loves sushi. She loves all of the things. She's encouraged to have a very wide range of foods, and she's a pretty eclectic palate like me, thankfully. It was just a blip, but it was very hard. It was really hard. Lots of just bad feelings during that time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm curious, as a speech language pathologist, did you find yourself like analyzing every sound that she would make?
Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely. I'm like, okay, is she tracking things? Is she babbling when she should be? Is she repeating? Is she imitating? Is she doing all of these things? And I don't know. There was maybe a few moments where I was like, oh God, is this, what is that? And I was like, no, shut up. It's fine. She is fine. Everything's fine. She took a little longer to crawl and walk than I expected. She was on like the later end of the normal range. I very much believe in early intervention and don't wait and see, just get them looked at. But right around the time I was going to do it, she started to crawl. And then she walked around 17 months. So I was like, she's never going to get there. She's never going to do it. And then she did. And now she won't stop. But absolutely analyzing every little thing she was doing, and myself, making sure I am doing all of the things that as an SLP and a mom, I should know better, and I should do this and I shouldn't do that. So lots of pressure to keep an eye on things and do things the right way, for sure.
Speaking of sound, I'm also interested to hear if there was a special song or sound that you and your daughter shared together. Did you have a favorite lullaby?
Yes. And it's still requested every single night. I just started singing it to her, and I don't even know why, or how old she was. But I sang her Baby Mine from Dumbo one day when I was trying to put her down or soothe her. And then it just was something that I continued to do, probably daily. Eventually, after she first started talking, I don't remember exactly what we were doing, probably reading a book or something. And she started to either sing it or sing with me. And I just fell apart, because my husband usually does bedtime, but she will request that he go get me after he's done. And I sing her Baby Mine. And if I don't sing all of it, she will be like, where's the rest of it? And then she has started singing and very much belting as loud as she can, the whole thing. She knows all the words at this point, so she can pretty much sing it by herself. But it's definitely a special thing for me. I know it is for her now, but I have wondered if she will remember when she's older, or if it will still have the same meaning to her when she's older as it does for me. And makes me a little sad to think she won't care someday, and I hope she does.
When I heard that she specifically requests the song every night, it makes me think about just how special the mother-daughter bond is. I wonder if you could describe that bond you feel to her.
I look at her and I see myself when I was little. We look similar at that age. I looked similar to her. And I think I just have this fierce, protective feeling towards her of wanting to keep her from the things that I went through, and to prepare her to deal with those things and be resilient. I know things are going to happen and I can't prevent that. And I don't necessarily even want to, because I think you got to live. But I feel this overwhelming sense of keeping out the things that hurt me, that are even still in our lives, just comments and ideologies and certain things that I'm like, I don't want that near her. I know what it does, especially to a girl, and I don't want any part of it. And so having to hold that boundary around her, I think I just feel like that's my biggest role in the relationship I have with her and the bond that we have. And at the same time, I want her to feel safe with me and have fun and not criticized. I desperately do not want her to feel criticized by her mom. And so I had started saying somewhat recently to her, whenever I say I love you, I say no matter what at the end. And she now says it back. And I really want her to, sorry, to
No, don't
know that's
worry.
true. I
Yeah.
really want her to know I love her no matter what. And so I think that the bond that we have it's a great start, and I'm excited to see where it goes in the future. And I just really hope that it is maintained and that she just always feels very safe and like she can trust me, that I'm a safe person for her.
Yeah. Yeah. What a gift that she has from you, that unconditional love, and the way you're able to verbalize it to her, I think it's
Mhm.
just such a blessing. And I'm also thinking about what you said about the healing energy that your husband's touch holds
Mhm.
for you. And I'm wondering if there is a special way that you hold Lola, or that a way that she touches you that has a similar type of energy.
She's funny because if she knows that she's done something that she wasn't supposed to, she will gravitate towards doing something like that. She's like, I'll give you a little kiss. I'll give you a little kiss. I'll give you a little pats. I'll give you little rubs. That's what she says. Little pats, little rubs. And so I think that she feels that, those are healing sensations and kind
Mm-hmm.
things to do. And one thing that she still says, and I'm holding on to this one, is, can I hold you? Instead of saying, will you hold me? Like, it started when she was very little as hold you. And then now that she's very verbal, it's changed, but she still says it like that. So she'll say, can I hold you? And every once in a while she'll say it the right way. And I'm like, oh, ugh. Just a little dagger in my heart. But so I think that those kinds of like cuddly moments and affectionate kind of touches and things like that is important to her. But she is also a very strong woman, and she will tell you, I need space. I don't want that, like, let
Mm-hmm.
me go. And I've also very much tried to encourage her to use her voice and let people know when something's okay and not okay, and not just to
Mm-hmm.
blindly let everybody kiss her and touch her, and even family. I've been pretty clear on that with her. So I think that she seeks it out, though, when it works for her.
That's very impressive, because she's 3 or not quite 3
She'll
yet.
be 3 next week. Yeah. But it
Definitely
also
gifted.
can come back to bite me, because I'll try to get her to she goes, I need space. I need space. I'm like, not right now. Get in the car. So,
So, were you working right after you gave birth? Were you on maternity leave for a while and then you went back to work, or how did that work?
yes. Thankfully, my old job had pretty decent parental leave. I had her during the summer, obviously, but my actual maternity leave didn't start until the first day of school started. So
Oh,
I had
nice.
the time leading up to the first day of school. And then I had, I think, 17 weeks. So I went back after New Year's. So she was 6 months old.
What
Yeah.
was that transition like?
I didn't like it. I know the days leading up to going back, I was just, it was just this looming black cloud. My old job, the commute was an hour both ways.
Oh, wow.
So, and it was a longer day, longer school year than a lot of elementary schools or a lot of other districts. I just knew how much I was leaving behind and how much I had to give up by going back to work. I felt like there were like specific milestones where I was very emotional. Obviously, like finding out I was pregnant, giving birth, then going back to work, another surge of lots of emotions. Pumping at work, that
Yeah.
brought up a lot. And then stopping all of that, that brought up a lot. I just felt sad and tired and frumpy and just not me. And I remember just being so stressed out about trying to fit in breastfeeding before I left for work in the morning, which was very early, so that I wouldn't have to pump immediately when I got there, just trying to keep up with the schedule and the long day. And it was very stressful and it wasn't fun.
Now I'm wondering what you were going through as far as kind of body image and self-image
Awful.
during that time.
That was incredibly difficult. Again, lots of like conflicting emotions. Like, I shouldn't be worried about this right now. I have a baby. I've got bigger, more important things to worry about. Your body's the least interesting thing about you. And just all of these little mantras and things I'm trying to make myself feel better about. But in the end, I was raised a certain way with certain thoughts around body image and what's important and how you're perceived. That was the biggest I'd ever been. And I had never struggled with my weight. And then I just did not recognize myself. I just couldn't understand, like, what's so different now? She's out. So then I read, oh, when you breastfeed, you drop weight. That didn't do anything. When you stop breastfeeding for some women, they lose weight. That didn't do anything. So I was like, I couldn't for the life of me figure out like what to do, but I knew I was miserable. And again, just beating myself up for feeling that way, because I was like, this is a huge part of what I don't want for her. I don't want her to care like I care. I don't want her to focus on this or let people's comments influence her. I don't want her to put this much energy into this in her life. I just so badly do not want this for her. So there was just a lot, again, battling with myself around how I was feeling and how I felt like I should feel and what I should do about it. And it was really hard. It was one of the more challenging parts of the whole parenting experience. Think it will be something I fight till the day I die, unfortunately. The good thing, I guess, is that I'm aware of how toxic personally I think the thinking is. No matter what size I am, I'm always going to be very critical of my body. And I try to check in with myself and I try to just shake it off and reframe my thinking. And I remember I read somewhere something like the first thought you have is, I'm not going to remember it well, but the first thought you have is the way like you were taught to think. And like the second thought you have right after is how you really think. I've paid attention to those moments and I do feel like that's true, because I'll have this nasty thought, whether it's about me or someone else, body, whatever. And then immediately I have a second one that's like, shut up. That's stupid. That's rude. That's not important. Like this whole other conversation happens after all of that. So I know at least that I have a little bit of power over it in terms of knowing the kinder way to be.
I was also thinking about how your accelerated timeline, pretty much getting pregnant a month and a half after getting married. So for the duration of your relationship with your husband, you didn't really have a lot of time when it was just the two of you.
No, it's been crowded.
How do you see that impacting your marriage and the dynamic between you and your husband?
Well, it's hard because, it's two extremely different people from extremely different backgrounds and experiences, both having a very similar goal and going about it completely differently. So I think there are definitely things that we are very aligned on, like the bigger values, but just even the little things, and me with my control issues and anxiety and wanting him to do things exactly the way I do them or the way I want them done. It's hard. I think he brings more of a peaceful vibe, which is very necessary, very welcomed. But I'm usually the one who's considering 5 different outcomes of the thing that we're about to do. Whereas he's like, what? It's fine. Everything's fine. It's fine because I made it fine. That's why it's fine. So it's definitely challenging for him too, for us to watch each other try to navigate this. And we're all still getting to know each other. Our
Mm-hmm.
little family is still getting to know each other and figuring out what works and what doesn't. We've had a ton of transitions. We've been living with my parents for the last 6 months while these renovations have taken forever. And so just all of these things having happened so quickly and all of these new little speed bumps that have come up and just trying to figure out how to do it together without everything just imploding and making sure Lola feels safe and happy and loved. And so far, we're doing it. It's not been easy, but I think it's at least shown me a different side of him and what fatherhood brings out in him, which has been really nice. I knew when I said those things to my friend who married us about his nurturing and just that very parental kind of safety that he kind of emits.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that was going to be positive for a little kid to be around. I very much see how much she adores her dad, and I can just see that she feels very safe with him, which is amazing. The ultimate goal is for Lola to be safe and happy and loved.
I was just kind of struck by your emphasis on making sure that Lola grows up feeling safe and happy and loved. So it makes me wonder, when it comes to you and your husband, what are the things that he does to make you feel safe and loved and happy?
If I am in any kind of mini crisis of my own, or even a large one, but we fortunately don't have many of those, but he's very calming. Having somebody in my corner when I am at my worst who doesn't make me feel judged at all. I'm not inconveniencing him. He's just there to provide what I need in that moment, which is just comfort. It's not anything more than that. That is constantly something I will be grateful for and makes me feel seen and understood in a moment where I don't feel understood at all or don't expect to. That withholding of judgment and just being there, just holding space for whatever that person that you love needs, that's huge to me. So
Yeah.
he definitely does that for me.
What advice would you give another first-time mom who maybe is struggling or feeling like they're failing?
Talk about it. Ask everyone who has had any remotely similar experience, just having had a kid, whatever it might be, talk about it. Odds are someone in your circle has experienced it or can offer something, some kind of guidance or support. But don't keep it to yourself. Don't go inside. Definitely reach out as much as you can.
My First Year as a Mother is an original Sophia Media production created by Sophia. This episode was produced by senior producer Samira Tazari with creative direction by Shireen Anderson and co-hosted by Sophia and me, Casey Georgie. Thanks for listening. Check out our website at sophiamedia.co/myfirstyear for more episodes and other shows in My First Year series, and for social links where you can join our online community.
If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and drop us a note about what you liked the most. Until next time, be well and be happy.